Eagles. Let's switch gear, KJ, from baseball back to football and play a game of Super Bowl Contender. You swipe to the left, you swipe to the right. Do you know how this works?
No. Is this kind of like, I guess, like dating app or something like that? Because, my skills have been so good over the years that I would say, hey, what's your name? My name is such and such. Let me get your phone number. Let's hang out at some time. I don't know. Maybe you try it sometimes these days. It'll work for some people. So I don't know how the swiping, will you swipe left and you want them or you don't want them?
All right, you swipe left, you're not interested. You swipe right.
Okay, there you go.
You are. And just for the record, I think you get one super swipe also. So if you just love one of these teams and you think they're definitely a Super Bowl contender, go ahead and super swipe. Let's start with the Dallas.
I see what we're doing there.
You see what I did there? You see what I did? Let's start with the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys. Left, you don't like them. Right, you want them. Which way are you going?
Ooh, with that big shining star of Texas on them, I'm going to swipe right. I'm going to check them out. And here's why. If the Eagles slip up and the NFC is so wide open, if you said, give me your three teams in the NFC, the Cowboys are probably that third team. So if you said it's the Eagles and 49ers and the Cowboys, well, there's questions with the 49ers. And with the Eagles, you might say, hey, if we could split, if you get one of those games inside the division, you just may not know what happens at the end where you might win the division. And that could be the difference between having Philadelphia go on the road and try and get back to the Super Bowl at some point versus you at least being able to host an opening game. So I'm going to swipe right with the Cowboys because they say everything is bigger in Texas, and I like them big.
Can you imagine? I mean, everybody's talking about Philly, and with good reason. They've got Jalen Hurts, top, let's call it 3 or 4 quarterback in the league, coming off a Super Bowl. Probably have the most
whole University
roster.
of Georgia. Right. The whole University of Georgia, pretty much, yeah.
If they don't win that division, and you're right, and Dallas Cowboys do, or somebody else does, I don't think the Giants or whatever that Washington football team's called these days, but let's just humor ourselves for the sake of sports radio and say Dallas does win the division. Then Philly's path becomes a whole lot more difficult because they don't get that bye of being the 1 seed. Remember, now only one team gets the bye, so that's absolutely critical. Right. They wouldn't have home field advantage. And, yeah, it wouldn't be the most difficult way to navigate you through the NFC playoffs because there's not a lot of great teams. But if Dallas wins that division, it makes the Philadelphia Eagles picture look completely different.
Yeah, you would almost wonder how things would play out. They would have to play an extra game. And can an extra game
go on the road,
present some right? Would it potentially injuries, or is someone trying to recover from injury? You wouldn't have the bye week to get healthy and the rest up. So those things are going to be key. So I'm going to swipe right on the Cowboys, as I mentioned, because one slip of the Eagles, it now makes it a tougher road for them.
Yeah, you could convince me the Cowboys are the second best team, just on paper, better than San Francisco. I'd go Philly 1, I'd go right Philly now, 1, yes. I'd go Dallas 2, I'd go Frisco 3. All right, you swiping left or right on Aaron Rodgers and his new squad, the New York Jets?
Boy, you making me seem like I'm just loose and uncommittal. I'm swiping right with Aaron Rodgers on the Jets, and here's why. They already have a defense in place, and usually when you're concerned about a young team, it would be making turnovers from the quarterback position or the defense giving up too many big plays on the defense. Well, the young defense has shown itself it can lock itself in, having 2 of the best corners in the league and being able to show that they can compete because the Jets were in it through the end of the season, just that their quarterback play wasn't. Not only did they get a better quarterback, they got a Hall of Fame first ballot quarterback. So, and I think that Aaron Rodgers' disposition is going to be set to handle New York. He knows what to expect because the Yankees are bad and because the Mets are bad. Aaron Rodgers is going to become the talk of New York once football season starts. There probably won't be a whole lot of postseason baseball talk now. So I think he's preparing himself to dip into Connecticut and hide and only show up at practice and games. Just keep yourself above water and not get swallowed by the New York press. And I think he'll be okay. And I think because of that, the team will be considerably better. I'm swiping right.
By the way, according to BetMGM, the Jets and the Cowboys have the same odds to win the Super Bowl, both coming in at 16-1. All right, I'm trying to find out how easy you are, my guy. What about the Baltimore Ravens? Which way are you swiping?
Girl, give me a crab cake and I'm yours. Look, yeah, I'm liking Baltimore to make a deep run, and this Joe Burrow injury with Cincinnati just makes me wonder, how serious is it? The longer it goes on, and if there isn't an explanation of what grade sprain is it to the calf, because the way he went down, it seems much deeper to me. I don't want to get into speculation, even though it's a betting show and it's all about speculation. Keep an eye on what they're not telling you about Joe Burrow's injury. Don't be surprised if Joe Burrow doesn't take a snap at all in any of these preseason games, because we just don't know when they have to really finally tell you what's going on. So I'm swiping right on Baltimore to win the AFC North and to make a nice run in the playoffs.
Baltimore, by the way, talking about preseason, they've won, this is just so crazy, 23 preseason games in a row. Their odds to win the Super Bowl at BetMGM, talking about the Ravens, 20-1. All right. How about the Miami Dolphins? You swiping left or right? Are they a Super Bowl contender?
I'm swiping left. Things look great in Miami. You get all caught up in the weather and the sights and everything. But at the end of the day, if it gets too hot, if you don't know how to swim, your ass is in trouble. So, look, I don't think this Miami team is really built to swim in the deep end. Yeah, they've made some adjustments to their defense, but the real question is the durability of Tua. If teams know that all they have to do is not stop you, but just hit you, you just can't really believe that team is a Super Bowl team, because you have a fragile quarterback and your backup. You could win $1 million probably right now, just if you could tell me who the backup is right now without looking. So I'm not buying. I'm swiping left on the Dolphins. Everything in Miami isn't so sexy, and sometimes they look better in the pictures than they do in person.
Skylar Thompson, and I didn't cheat. He went to K-State. So in Manhattan's like, well, then
that's kind of cheating. That's kind of like knowing, what's your favorite thing you like to do? I like to do it too. It's deeper in my profile. Yeah, because we knew what you did in high school. It is kind of cheating.
Enough. All right, let's stay in the state of Florida. How about the Jaguars? Everybody loves the Jags. Everybody tells me they're locked to win the division, but are they a Super Bowl contender?
Ooh, nice personality, great conversation, but I got to swipe left. I just think the AFC gauntlet is just too intense, right? It's like my best friend, one of my mentees, she used to be a Kansas City Chiefs cheerleader. And so when she would take pictures with other people, she would really, really stand out because none of the other ones were cheerleaders. But then when she took pictures with the other cheerleaders, you're like, wow, this same person who looks really good against, say, the AFC South looks just like everybody else. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Jets, San Diego. They look just like everybody else in there. They don't really stand out from the crowd. So I don't think this team is Super Bowl ready yet, but they can hold up in a picture by themselves, and even with some of the big boys, they can hang.
What about Buffalo? Like, if I would have asked you this any time in the last few years, you would have said Super Swipe, of course. They were the MGM favorite heading into the season last year, both to win the Super Bowl and their quarterback to win the MVP. Dude, not that you asked. I think I'm swiping left. I don't think that's a Super Bowl. If they weren't a Super Bowl contender the last couple of years, what makes us think they are? Which way are you swiping?
I'm swiping left because it's almost like, hey, when you look at some of the earlier pictures, they are very happy. They're going vivacious. You can tell that they do things to take care of themselves. And then life hits them, maybe a bad relationship there, some overconfidence there. And now when you look at the pictures, you notice there's always an alcoholic drink in every picture. And that's a red flag when you're swiping left or right. So you want to swipe left, because if you find out the only way you can have a good time with them is them drowning their sorrows, i.e. Stephon Diggs and what he's not getting, and Josh Allen is if he's that, and the fan base being super obnoxious and everything, like the drink in front of them, you got to swipe left because it becomes a bigger headache than it is enjoyment.
To me, it's just Josh Allen. I feel like we put the cart ahead of the horse a little bit, calling him elite before. I mean, I look at his resume. He's got a lot of wins. He's big. He can run with the football. But what big game has he really won? What time did he really beat Patrick Mahomes when it mattered? What deep playoff
I knew
run
this was
am
where
I
it was
forgetting
coming
about?
back to. I
It's not even
knew it was
that.
coming back to.
It's not even a
Yeah,
Chiefs take. It's an anti-Buffalo
here's the
take.
thing. But when you're talking about contender, you shouldn't be talking about, your significant other. I mean, you're on the creep, aren't we, with the swiping left and right? So if you're married to the Chiefs, why are you bringing up your proverbial wife in a conversation about checking out people online swiping left and right? That's all I'm saying.
I'm just looking around a little bit. That's all.
You
Nothing
don't
wrong
look
with
around
that.
and talk about your significant other in the same sentence. Who does that?
Well, you don't know about our relationship. KJ Carson, Sports Machine, Sean Levine here on the BetQL network. You swiping left or right, there's no way. Everybody's talking about this team, at least to win the division. The Lions. Don't tell me you're swiping right on them.
I'm swiping left because they haven't won anything yet. And I think Hard Knocks, which, some people are like, yo, what's like the real importance of inside the NFL and on cable when you got all these other shows? Well, Hard Knocks still seems to be that survivor, and it seems like it permeates into the betting thought process. Even if you look at Kirk Cousins, I think he's got the fourth highest odds for MVP in MVP. Really? What's changed? Well, because he's on Netflix with this quarterback show. I'm not buying the Lions as a contender. I don't even have them winning their division. Maybe they sniffed the wild card because the NFC is such a weak conference this year. So they might be that last team that gets in because the NFC West is so bad. The NFC Central is the NFC South. Somebody's got to win it. You might have an all-losing record division again there. So, yeah, contender to win the Super Bowl? No. Contender to get into the playoffs? Yes.
Who do you think's the best quarterback in that division? Because all you have to do is twist my arm to convince me of any of them.
Oh,
You could literally tell me, hey, we haven't seen enough of Jordan Love, or Justin Fields is going to take a step forward, or Kirk Cousins puts up big numbers. Everybody tells me it's Jared Goff. Is there a right answer?
It's Kirk Cousins. I think people have to be a bit honest with themselves. Like you said, if you're starting a team right now with the NFC quarterbacks and you need to go and win a title right now, whose arm are you putting it on? Give me Kirk Cousins over Jared Goff, just because Jared Goff has shown himself to be timid in those moments. While Kirk Cousins hasn't had a chance to be in those moments, at least he has that gunslinger in him that you would say, okay, this dude might be the guy down 17 and can score 21 points with the weapons he has on offense. So I'd say Kirk Cousins is the best quarterback in that division.
Who is a bigger season?
Jared Goff may not even be the quarterback of the Lions by the end of the year.
What about between Justin Fields and Jordan Love, if you had to have one of those guys?
Oh, Justin Fields, because Jordan Love, my goodness, you give him one game in front of his folks, and my goodness, it's like, dude, you're just playing. It's not playing the recorder, And so he stunk up the parent performance. You're in third grade, and you're like your parents and the uncles are coming in. Then you got to blow your little part, and you're like, that's literally what he did in that game for Green Bay last year, knowing that you're going to be the quarterback of the future. You got to show more than what you did.
Last one, Chargers. Swiping left, you swiping right.
Oh, that is a tough one because I'm going to have to swipe left. And the only reason why I'm swiping left is Keenan Allen is getting a little older, and I'm concerned that if his production is not there and Austin Eckler is not focused, that Mike Williams is just a guy out there by himself. And the way that head coach makes decisions, I would just turn the phone off. I would just get out the app and turn the phone off and do a reset.
Their roster is so good. Like, if you just look all the way up and down, both sides of the ball, special teams, top 5 quarterback, top 5 running back, good pass rush, good enough offensive line. They got a couple of problems. I'm not sure they figured out a head coach, and they've got to face this guy named Patrick Mahomes a couple of times a year. I think you've heard of him. I'm not sure. I think you've heard of him. He's KJ.
Okay, Carson. So next time we're out here doing contender, why don't you just have our wives sit next to these people we're choosing at the dinner table? Why don't we just do that? All 4 of us will go out.
Doesn't seem like the best for our future relationships. Final segment of the show coming up next. It's Bet Nation on the BetQL network.